right, so check this out. I know when buying a home for the first time can be a very stressful process. But that's why it's good to give it a good lender like my buddy Jared Nicholson from Key Mortgage Group. He's so active to educate his borrowers and also let people be aware of their blind spots. This is a good man to make your lifetime lender, to make your process super, super stress-free, and don't be turned off by the housing process. You can follow him and find him at jnhomeloan.com. So let me spell that out for you. jnhomeloan.com. So tap in with him. Jared NMLS number is 1969744. I repeat that. 1969744. And welcome back to another episode of Minds with Hakeem. I'm here with my brother DJ. Say what's up to the people, brother.
What's up, man? How y'all doing today? How y'all doing?
Man, I'm excited to get you up here, bro, man. Like, when I met you, it was just good energy, good vibes as soon as I met you. So, it's only right I get you up here and let you spill what you got to the people, bro.
Yeah, man, I'm appreciative of that, man. You know what I'm saying? We always had that brother love, you know, the job and things like that. So, it's always nothing but positive vibes, you know?
Easy, bro. Easy. I agree with you 100%. So, this is the season finale, brother. So, thanks for coming on. Man, go ahead and do what you got to do today. I already know, so like I'm excited. Y'all finna get a good one. But y'all know how we do it, man. We check in with the pandemic first before we get to know our guests. So, how you been through this pandemic, bro? How the family, how everybody feeling?
I mean, everybody good. You know what I'm saying? So this past year, obviously, like it was a tough time for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people learned a lot of valuable lessons, but I know people can look at it as a bad year, but I looked at it as a positive opportunity because then it told you and showed you the things you want in life and what you want to become. So it made me pursue my goals and dreams, kind of helped me help myself and other people around my circle, you know.
No, for sure, man. It's hard, and like I tell like a lot of people that it's hard to stay focused in trying times, but the people who really dedicated, who can lock in, stay focused whenever, no matter what's going on,
Most
bro.
Definitely.
So that's just a little insight about what you've been through and everything, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So, icebreaker question, bro. This season 2, I asked all my guests. You got the honor of taking the last one. I asked all my guests, what is the best advice that was ever given to them? So, and I know that answer changes from time to time. So, I asked you today, brother, what is the best advice that was ever given to you?
Basically, to be honest, I think a lot of people have already heard it, like never give up. You know what I'm saying? That's something that's always stuck with me since I was a toddler, basically. You know, like when hard times come, you have to keep being persistent and keep pursuing your goals and dreams and aspirations. And you're going to take more L's in life than you take wins. You know what I mean? So you have to keep being persistent and never give up no matter what. It doesn't matter what situation it is or where you come from or what limited resources you don't have. You just have to be persistent and never give up. Because if you give up, then why throw away all the hard work you did to get to where you're at right now? It makes no sense.
Nah, it makes no sense at all, bro. Nah, that's some wonderful advice, bro. And like you said, you knew that since you was a toddler. And like that's been consistent throughout your whole life, bro. Like, mine's is like kind of along that line, never give up, but there's no self-doubt as well, which falls in never giving up because there's going to be doubt along the way. So I agree with that message 100% what you said, bro. Like that's some solid advice that anybody can take and like build whatever they need to build, like no matter how big they want it, no matter how small they want it. So appreciate that, man.
For sure.
So let's get into you, brother. Let's get into the book, Fostering My Dreams. Fostering dreams. Yeah, fostering dreams, not my dreams. Look at me being selfish. Fostering dreams. So let's get into the book. So first and foremost, bro, when did the book drop? What year did it come out?
The book obviously dropped 2016. So basically, like it was an idea that I had as a jit because all the things that I had growing up, like all the problems, the failures, trauma, things like that, kind of like pushed me to kind of like write all the stuff out just to help myself. I basically like a therapeutic way to kind of get my energy out. And so all the years of like just traveling the world, playing football, going stage to stage, and trying to like fight for survival. Basically, I was just man, it's time for me to just do something for myself. So. I started writing. I would stay up to like 4 o'clock in the morning, just writing, just pouring things like that in the little notebook. And eventually, like 2016, when I came up here to play for the Iowa Barnstormers, I just told myself, I said, hey, it's time to get this book done. You know,
time to get it out. For real.
I just sat there and I grinded it out and got it done. You know, and then now, hey,
the end result, bro. Yes, I'm excited, bro, because I'm getting my copy tonight, and I'm excited to tap into it. We kind of touch bases about it, so I'm not gonna give up too much. That's your business to tell. So talk to us, bro. You kind of mentioned it briefly, like about your failures and the things you went through in your life. So can you open it up, kind of like what the course of the book looked like? Because it is a memoir or autobiography of your earlier life. Am I correct?
Basically, yeah.
So open it up for us, brother. Like, let us know like the beginning and kind of the middle, and then I'll jump in. I'll be jumping in.
Yeah,
and ask you
most
questions.
definitely. So obviously, like I was born a U.S. citizen. So the book starts off with me just kind of growing up with my mom. So my mother was Nigerian at the time. You know what I'm saying? So like. When she was married, well, they weren't married at the time yet, but they had me without being married. So when my mother's visa expired, she took me to Nigeria to stay with her family. So at a young age, I went to Nigeria and I lived in Nigeria. So like all I knew was like the culture, the custom, the dialects, the cuisine and things like that, you know what I mean? So in Nigeria, all we knew was like we knew about airplanes and things like that, but we never seen one firsthand. Basically, it's like something like you never envisioned you be a part of or do like something. Yeah, so
far-fetched.
Yeah, basically. So I grew up in Nigeria. We grew up with less, and it taught me a lot of intricate lessons in life that kind of applied to my life and kind of like made me who I am today. As far as like appreciating life with less, basically. You know, we didn't have running water. You had to walk barefoot everywhere, things like that. So like you learned the value of kind of like, you know, surviving with less, basically. So I dealt with that for 10 years, basically. And then when I was 10 years old, my sperm donor, which there was a reason why I said my sperm donor, because I think a lot of people in this world can relate to where like we have our father be there for everything we do in life, whether it be high school graduation, football games. It's just important life milestones in life, basically. And so he wasn't around. So my sperm donor came back when I was 10 years old, is trying to get, you know, like a relationship with me. So at 10 years old, here I was, Nigerian custom, like, you know, like things like that, coming to the United States. I landed in the United States and expecting him to be around, but the man wasn't even around at all to pick me up. His girlfriend picked me up there at the time, but I didn't even know who she was at the time. So like here I was, left my mother, something that I'd known all my life, like, you know, routine, basically, being around my mother, to be with this person I barely knew.
So I want to stop you real quick before you keep going, and I remember where you stopped at on your story. So I want to ask you a little bit about Nigeria. Like, you said you was obviously there when you was young, so I'm assuming you left when you was in like 11, 12?
No, I was 10 years old when I came back.
Okay, 10 years old. Okay, so you left the U.S. as an infant.
Yeah,
like
2 years old.
Okay.
So when I was 2 years old, so I was born in the United States, Columbus, Ohio. So I moved there when I was 2 years old. So from basically 2 years old to 10 years old, all I knew was like the Nigerian dialect, the cuisine, the heritage, everything like that, you know. So
and that's what I want to ask you about before you continue with the airport situation. Talk about your time just as a young kid that stick with you from Niger. Like, what was the difference from Nigeria to America? And I know it's a huge difference, but I can't put myself in those shoes.
So like growing up in Nigeria was basically like a lifetime experience for me, because like obviously, like I said, we didn't have running water. If you wanted a hot shower, you had to like put a firewood together and heat up the water to have running water, basically. We barely had clean water. You know, like we had to go fetch water from the reservoirs, and 9 times out of 10 there was like parasites and diseases and things like that in it. You know what I mean? So the way we got water was like from rainy days. We would like set up things where like we had the water kind of come in a bucket, then we boil the water to kind of trying to use it basically. To clean it up a little bit. We didn't have, you know, a bathtub, all these fancy jacuzzis. We didn't have a microwave. Like we didn't have all this stuff. You know, like food wasn't processed. Everything was natural. You know, we had fruits like mangoes, bananas, so like everything was pretty much fresh. There's like a fruit that probably most people don't even know about. Like I can ask you right now, do you even know, you know what a cashew is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, do you know where the cashew comes from?
No, I don't.
Yeah, there's a fruit that a cashew comes from.
I did not know cashews came from a fruit.
It comes from a fruit. So there's a fruit, and then there's a cashew that comes from like the little nut that's attached to that fruit. If you guys get a chance, look up cashew. What is a cashew? You'd be blown right now. So it's something. So it's something we grew up with in Nigeria, just like, you know, having all these things being like that. But like, although times were tough back in Nigeria, but we made the best what we had. You know, like we were appreciative of that, but you worked hard for what you want. And we took care of the people that had less than what we had, basically. It doesn't matter if you had $1,000 or you had $0. We made sure the people around us were always good as well. You know what I mean? So like just having that environment, like, you know, I mean, obviously you had like good and bad in every situation or whatever, but like the main idea, was always about just taking care of the people around you, make sure everybody was good. So that kind of like grew with me, you know, like kind of rubbed off on me seeing my mother, because my mother was a nurse. So like it kind of rubbed off on me to kind of help take care of people as much as you can. Obviously not within helping like more than yourself, obviously overextending yourself. But yeah, so it was like that growing up was just kind of like a lifetime experience for me. Like, you know what I mean? So, and from that correlating to America, when I came here, it was a different thing because everybody had access to everything. It was like everything was instant,
Press the button.
instant. Like here and here, like, you know what I mean? Like it was a microwave. I was like, a what? It was like a microwave. You just put your food in there, you put the button, and then it's the heat up. I'm like, huh, what?
That's how that
like,
work?
Yeah, like that makes no sense.
We so spoiled. That's why I wanted to ask you that. That's why I wanted to get like
most definitely.
Like the background of Nigeria, because we Americans, we're so spoiled. Like somebody, I've never been to Africa before in my life.
Yeah.
And like I can imagine like the culture shock that I'll be in if I went to Africa. How spoiled America has made me. Like I need my stuff on the instant. Like you said, like microwave, I need my noodles in 2 minutes. Like
most definitely.
Like, and now y'all gotta wait till it rain to get water. Like that's a perspective that Americans like we can never just think about. Like what?
And
like
people take, even like I said, for instance, water for granted. You can go to your kitchen sink, turn the faucet on, grab your cup, and just drink that. You can't just do that in Nigeria, how we grew up. You know what I mean? So it's like appreciating like every single drop of water. Like, and you don't want to like waste any water when you fetch the water. Like it makes you appreciate that value having that water. You know what I mean? Just think about it. Like if you don't have water or you don't have any supply or resource, and you finally have an opportunity to get that resource, you're going to do everything in your power to not spill an ounce, like just one drop, even like one bite or nothing like that.
It matters. No, it matters.
It matters. So.
But all right, let's go. Let's press play. You at the airport, and dad, sperm donor, came. Girlfriend came pick you up. So
at the time, I didn't know who she was, what relationship she had to me, or anything like that. So she picked me up from the airport. And so I went to her house. She obviously like brought up my sperm donor's name. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's him basically. So she's like, well, you're gonna be staying with me for a week. So here I was, for the man like fought so hard to take me away from my mother, my biological mother, and I didn't want to come here. Like I was just like, no, I'm not leaving my mother because that's all I know. Like you know what I'm saying? So so he took me there. So I stayed with her for a week. And then finally I saw my sperm donor a week later. That's when I moved in with him. You know what I mean? And this time I was in 4th grade. I was in 3rd grade. I apologize. So I was in 3rd grade at the time. So he put me in this elementary school. So like I made some like Hispanic friends next door. So like we walked to school every day. Like, you know what I mean? As a group basically for safety and whatnot. And at the time, I didn't know what Hispanic people were. I didn't know what black and white was. I didn't know anything.
What city was this in?
This was in Ogden, Utah at the time.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, when I first came back. And so when I was going to elementary school. So every day from that moment, the year I came, like I would show up to school and like my teachers would continue to just ask questions like, oh, where'd you get the scars from? Where'd you get this from? Where'd you get this from? And I would like always telling me like I fell from the jungle gym, or I tripped at recess, or I fell from this and that. It basically kept on just covering everything up. And every single day I would show up to school, the scars and bruises just started getting worse and worse and worse. And then the teacher was like always like, that makes no sense that you just told us yesterday you fell from jungle gym, then today you just stubbed your toe in soccer or whatever, like, you know what I mean? So
it wasn't adding up to him.
It wasn't adding up at all. And there was one particular day, I remember the day like no other, it's still ingrained in my head. And so it was February, and so I was part of like this after school program, and so we were supposed to stay there. We play games, eat food, snacks like that, and watch movies, basically like that. Just kind of like an after school program where kids go and things like that. So I got done with the program, and my counselor lady like kind of like asked me if I could stick around for a little bit, you know. So she started talking to me. Yeah. So she was like, "Hey, look, like is something going on at home? Like just open up, like tell me." I was just like, "I don't know what you're talking about." You feel me? Like kept on deflecting, and so that kept on like pressing on. Excuse me. And so my friends had walked home already because I had to stay late to speak to the lady. And I remember walking outside to walk home by myself. Here I was in a whole different culture, basically like a whole new fish tank, basically. A new territory, new environment, didn't know nothing about their environment or anything like that. I'm trying to process everything, you know what I mean, because I just learned this whole dialect, but I'm trying to learn English and everything like that. And so I'm trying to walk home. I see some people in the truck just drinking beer and things like that. They start throwing the bottles. Oh, you N-word, da-da-da-da. So I got scared as a 10-year-old kid. I'm like, oh, what the heck is this? You know, so I ran back to the school. I'm like, man, like there's some people outside or whatever, come outside. So she walked outside with me and she's like, yeah, we're finna call your sperm donor to come pick you up from school. And so she called him on the phone. He cursed her out on the phone like, you bitch, don't tell my son no. You know what I'm saying? Like literally on the phone. Like tell him
somebody who's trying to help you.
tell him to walk his black and grateful but home, da-da-da-da. So she was like, sir, like, you need to just come pick your son up and take him home. If you don't, I will call the cops and report him as abandoned, basically.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't really care. Like, I don't give a, you know what I mean? So she's like, what, sir? And then that's when, I guess, in her mind, it started processing. Everything just started adding up.
Yeah.
And so the cops were called. I got taken in the home. And to home, I got dropped out by the police officer. And when I got there, my sperm donor grabbed me and like yanked me into the house, like right in front of the police officer. And the police officer was like trying to, you know what I'm saying, doing one of these, like, hold on, wait a minute.
That's not normal.
Yeah, like it's not normal at all. And so I went in the house, and he slammed the door in the police officer's face. So I went in my room, dropped my backpack off of my room, and I already knew what time it was. Like a lot of people know what time when them whooping is about to come. Like you know what time it is. And so I came around the corner. I got hit across my face. Boom! Started beating me. So we started playing like a little game of cat and mouse and going around. And so that kind of happened. The police officer started banging on the door. And after a while, my sperm donor finally opened up the door, but he told me to go take a shower because I was bleeding at the time. So I went and took a shower because I obeyed commands, basically, like, you know what I mean, because I didn't want to get beat anymore. You didn't want to get hit again.
Yeah. So at this time, I mean, during this time, is all this in the book? Like,
yes, all this stories? Okay. All this is in the book. I'm just sharing like a quick some snippets and stuff like that. So all that is in the book is like the early stages, you know. So dealt with all that stuff like that. And then so when I got out the shower, I just had a towel on, you know what I'm saying, 10-year-old kid with a towel on. And so the officer was like, I'm not finna leave until you know what I'm saying, I see the boy, basically make sure he's good. Yeah. So he took like a little quick glance at me. He was like, okay, cool. So he felt like it was safe to leave me there that night, basically. When he left, I got smacked, and my sperm donor told me, so yeah, if you bring some other people in my house again, you know, so you're gonna get it worse, basically. And I remember just falling on the seat. And I told myself, I was like, man, like, why would I give up everything I've known from living with my mother, like her being so loving and caring and showing me all this compassion and having like my best interests at heart, to be with somebody that I barely knew, you know what I'm saying, in a whole new environment and whole new territory basically for me, you know, and like get the opposite basic reaction of love, basically, you know. And so I basically cried myself to sleep that night, just like kind of longing for my mother, like I want to go back. And so the next day at school, I'm sitting in the class, and they called on the intercom, like, oh, DJ, report your principal's office. But here I was like, dang, okay, what now, basically?
What did I
like,
do?
You know what I'm saying? Everybody, when you get buzzed on the intercom, okay, detention or getting suspended or something, you know, so I'm like, here we go. So as soon as I walk in the principal's office, I knew it was serious then, because like you watch movies, you see TV shows or whatever, when you know people have name tags, like you know it's something serious, you know what I mean? So I walked in and saw like all these people with nameplates. I could still remember their names. That's the crazy thing about my memory. I remember the vision, what I saw. And so I remember seeing Justine's name, and she was like, hey, like, can I talk to you real quick? And I was like, why? Like, she's just like, well, just come in the back room with me real quick. Yeah. So we went in there, had another male staff in there. Is this the counselor? Or? No, this is like the social workers.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so they all came to the school. So she explained, like, introduced herself, basically. Said, oh, my name's Justine. I'm a social worker, like, da-da-da. You know, we kind of want to just ask you what happened last night, because we heard that, you know, like something happened last night. So I kept online and deflecting still. And so we went about it for about like a good 45 minutes, just being interrogated, like just asking questions, not interrogating, but just asking questions. Yeah, just trying to figure out what really happened. And then I finally just broke down when she was just like, yeah, like, where's your mom? And I was like, well, my mom's in Nigeria, but I want my mother, basically. Like, you know what I mean? So she's like, well, we're going to do everything in our power to try to figure out how to get you to your mom, basically. And so that went on. So we talked, and I finally broke down and just kind of told her, I said, yeah, my mom's in Nigeria. I hadn't talked to my mother since I've been in the United States, basically. You know what I mean? I talked to my mother one time on the phone, you know what I mean? And and so like the second year I was there, it was the same thing. So after that situation happened, I got taken out of that situation and placed in foster care. You know? So I went to like a little shelter, basically.
And that goes into the title. Okay.
And it goes into, it's going to come into the title, basically. So I went to foster care. Got bounced around like a hot potato. People used me for the money for the government. For sure. You know, like kind of paid their rent with my money, and I was always inquiring about like being hungry and things like that. I had so many incidences where like people wouldn't even feed me food. Basically, like I'm like, hey, like you guys are getting money to take care of me, but I'm not eating, and you guys are using all that bread to pay for your other expenses or whatnot. You know, it makes no sense. Bro. And so I bounced around, shuffled home to home. Different situations, got in fights.
Still in Utah at the time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, still in Utah at the time. And so we bounced around, went to so many different homes. Then I found my family, basically, my last name now, the Lesters, they took me in. And so, like, the first time I saw my mother, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just something just so common about her voice and tone of voice, just how she said. It just reminded me of my mother, basically, you know? And so I started staying with them. And the quick story of it was, so my sperm donor came back after I found my family, and now I'm trying to get like revisitation rights, basically. But all these years he went MIA. So this 5 years passed by.
So you were like 16 at
No,
the
I
time?
was 12.
12. Oh,
So
12
I was
now?
still, so no, so I was 12. So I mean, I was 10. So when I was 12, that's when the process started. Kind of like I was in
Okay.
foster care, getting shuffled around. So before my freshman year, when I was 13, 14 years old,
Got you.
you feel me?
Yep.
That's when he came back in the picture,
Okay.
like summer before my freshman year. And so like I'm going through life. I hadn't talked to him since that last incident when I got taken out of the home. I talked to him probably a couple of times because we was in and out of court for child support. I mean, for foster care and all that stuff like that. And so I hadn't spoke to him like literally on the phone by myself. You know what I'm saying? I talked to my mother one time on the phone in 5 years. So 4.5, 5 years passed by. And when he came back within like the 4-year mark before the summer before my freshman year, and he was trying to get visitation rights basically to kind of like rekindle our relationship basically, whatnot. But he had a motive though, but I couldn't pick up on the motive yet. And so he told me that, yeah, my mother wanted to see me, she missed me. So like in my mind as legit, like I was like, okay, well my mother, you know what I'm saying, I barely knew, you know what I'm saying, she was been gone for all these years or whatever, so I've been trying to longing and trying to like get back to her, so why not just, you know,
see what he's talking about.
So we took the opportunity to go stay with them for the summer before my freshman year, and he had a whole plan to basically kidnap me and take me back to Nigeria. So we flew to Nigeria, he kidnaps me and takes me to Nigeria and just leaves me there with my mother's sisters or whatnot, and he flies back to the United States with my passport and just leaves me there with no identification, no nothing. I just had my luggage and that was it. But like at the time, it was like, okay, here I was as a legit 10 years old coming to the United States. I spoke 10 different dialects. I remember the cuisine, how to eat and stuff like that, right? But in 4.5 years, I didn't have nobody to talk to like that. I'm trying to process English, trying to learn English, force all that stuff like that. Teachers would call me stupid, dumb, because like I couldn't.
You was just behind.
It was
They
like
didn't
the
understand why you was behind.
Most definitely, it was like the barrier of trying to like flip the whole culture to something that I had no idea about. So here I was the summer before my freshman year. Now I have to go back after trying to force myself to learn English, and then now I got to go back and trying to resurface that dialect I just know basically.
That you try to brainwash yourself to forget.
Most definitely. So I went back, and so we went back up there. He lied to all of my family members up there and told them that I had a warrant for my arrest here in the United States and all this stuff like this. Yeah, it's a whole crazy thing. Did that.
Is that all covered in the book?
It's all covered in the book. Yeah, he talks about that. He said, yeah, like I had a warrant for my arrest here in the United States, that I need to stay in Nigeria for several years. So dealt with that. And so that's when I learned that he, flew back to the United States with my passport and things like that. But my grandpa at the time, like, knew, you know what I'm saying, what type of person he was basically. And he, like, he listened to me. So, like, he did what he had to do, everything to kind of, like, help me coordinate my transportation, which it talks about it in there, but I didn't really go in depth, you know what I'm saying, about like the trip we took. But it was like a journey to take, because we went from the town we were at to the capital of Nigeria, which is called Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay.
And so we had to go to like the American embassy. So here I was, like black kid, like typical any other person, walking to the little American embassy. And there was a lady sitting up there, like, talking to, like, man, like, we would like to try to get temporary passport to get in the United States. It was like, what? Like, a lot of people come in here and talk about they want to get temporary passports, or the citizens, that are what makes you different from everybody else. And so here I was pleading my case. And then I was able to finally get, a cell phone to call my mother up here, my adopted mom, and they explained everything to them.
Was your last name changed yet?
No, not yet. Nope, not yet. So it was in the process and all that stuff like that. So we dealt with that, and then I finally talked to my mother up here, and she was like, man, like, I knew something happened, you know what I'm saying? So we kind of coordinated everything. They coordinated everything.
How hard was it getting a phone call to America?
It was hard.
At that time?
At the time, it was hard because, like, I think most people have seen the movie Hotel Rwanda or things like that, when they have like when you see like the marketplace when there's like so much chaos, everybody moving around trying to sell something, things like that. It was basically like that scene. Basically, we had to go to the market, get phone cards, you know what I'm saying, like use somebody's cell phone, you know, so things like that. But all that stuff's covered in there, you know.
They got a lot of like black markets in countries like that. Cause like, I know when I was in Indonesia, they had a black market, and like my teammates would take us there, and they'd be like, "Yo, don't pull out no money here," or stuff like that.
Most
so
definitely.
I kind of know what you're talking about, but not to the extent.
Most definitely. So, you know, dealt with that and was able to kind of get that. So it took about 3.5 months to process. So at the time, I already missed like my freshman year. Like school started in August. You know, I missed already 2.5 months of school. You know what I'm saying? In the whole foreign country.
Getting more and more behind.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So missed like 2.5 months of school in a whole nother country. You know what I mean? Dealing with the ordeal. But when I went back, this is what killed me the most, and people like don't like this hurt me the most. So when I got back to Nigeria, and the first person I wanted to see when I first got back was my mother.
Yep, I was going to ask you
about all
that,
those years, which I knew, like, you know what I mean? That's the person I wanted to see so much dealing in this world. And because me, I was like, it's kind of suspicious because when I got off the motorcycle up there, because that's where transportation, you know what I mean? Only select few people have motorcycles. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, so I'm like, where's my mother at? You know, they kept on telling me, my mother's here, my mother's here. So I met with my grandpa, we talked. And so they took me to another lady. So like the day I got in town, the lady had passed away. So we went to her funeral basically. She was kind of part of the extended family basically. Yeah. And so we went to her funeral. And after her little service, we went to another town where my grandpa has another home at. And they took me to the little porch. And it was like, hey, like, we need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. So here I was like just getting pissed off. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, where's my mother?
I've been
like,
here for this long.
Like, show me my mom. Where's my mom? Like, the first person I should have seen when I first touched down, or they heard I was coming home, like, was my mother. You know what I mean? And they said, son, you got to be strong, son. I'm like, what? Like, what y'all talking about? They said, yeah, your mother had passed away 1.5 years after you came back to the United States. I lost it.
So in that moment right there, bro, like, because, like, you probably was at one of your most vulnerable spots ever in the world. What was your thought process? And did you explain it? First, did you explain it in the book, and then kind of let us in on a little bit of your thought process when you got that news as a young man who's been through so much and just got home, and the one person he was excited to see isn't even there. So talk about that a little bit.
Man, that hurt like it hurt like hell. Like, that's the only way I could say it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was something that I never thought in a million years would happen to me. You know what I mean? Because for me, it was like this. My mother taught me everything she could in life, but the only thing she didn't teach me was how to live life without her, basically.
Sheesh.
You feel me? So like that kind of hit home for me, because like that's all I known all my life was my mother's love and relationship. My mother and my grandpa was the two closest people to me. Yeah. Obviously I had uncles and stuff like that around, but like how caring my grandpa was and how caring my mother was, you know what I'm saying, how good of a people they were, like that's all I knew. Yeah. So to be taken away from that, so imagine that trauma, being a 10-year-old kid, taken away from your home, your parents, your possessions, and anything you can cling to for comfort. You know what I mean? Not some people have like teddy bears or like Ninja Turtle little dolls, like something. I left with nothing. I didn't have somebody I could just pick up on the phone and just call, be like, oh, Mitch, like come hang out with me. Like I didn't have none of that. I was in a whole nother territory by myself, facing the world by myself.
Couldn't even imagine.
I couldn't even imagine. So that feeling just kind of like, it just felt like somebody just took a shovel and just dug a hole inside of me.
You said get jumped in.
Yeah, most definitely. And it just like, it hit home, and I was just like, man, like I couldn't let that define who I was. I had to keep on being persistent, which it goes back to what I shared earlier by never giving up. Yeah. Because my mother's voice and my grandpa's voice just started like kind of clicking in my head, saying, no, like with everything that's going on, you still have to be persistent. You got to be strong. Man. You know what I'm saying? So as a 10-year-old kid, here I was facing one dilemma after dilemma. Yeah. No father figure, no mentor, no role model, and things like that in my life. So I had to figure it out on my own, you know. So I started seeing things differently, basically, you know. Like my mind just flipped the script and said, okay, it's go time. Like I can't depend on nobody else but myself. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what those feelings felt like. And I was able to kind of like channel everything and just kind of like bring my emotions back together. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I cried so hard that I can't even cry anymore. You know what I mean? Like it hit home. Damn. Like it really hit home. Most definitely.
So. Bro, when we was talking about this, I was like, no way. Like, first off, like, no way. Like, because when I met you at an interesting spot in my life. I think you was just finishing college. Yeah. I was just getting in the groove in college. Like, I was a couple years younger, but, like, I would have never guessed just by how strong you are, and like that's why we need to be more relational as humans, because like your story, like hearing your story, I'm like,
it's crazy.
What? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
most
literally
definitely.
like, what? Like, then you like started in Nigeria. I'm like, what? Like, hold
Yeah.
on, wait, too fast. And then all the trials and tribulations you went through, just shows your strength, brother. Like, and I want to give you your flowers, right now for being that strong of a man to overcome those situations and things like that. So I got some hand claps for you, and it's not. Yeah, you already know it was coming, Marquis. So I appreciate you, brother, for your story, and we're not done. I just want to jump in there. I just want to jump in there like real quick. But now let's transition until you get that call, getting that phone call making that phone call out to you, the States. Now let's transition back to the States before we jump
Kind
on.
of proof. Yeah. So after I made the phone call, talked to my mom, everything was coordinated. You know, it took about 2.5 months to get everything finalized.
Okay.
So we had to go to like the little market and get like a picture taken. So it's like we didn't have like Walmart where you can just go to Walmart and just take a picture, get it printed instantly. You know what I mean? It's like you have the cameras, you take a picture, you have to let it develop at the time, and then wait for like like a couple of days, like, and then go back and pick it up and then go talk to the embassy and do all. It was just a whole process, you know what I mean? So everything was a little bit harder than usual. So we stayed persistent with it. So the whole police department at the time coordinated everything. And so at the time when I was in Nigeria, my sperm donor, like when I was staying with him for that summer that he took me, we was in New Jersey at the time when I was staying with him. And so when we went to Nigeria, he had set up an email account for me. And so when everything was coordinated for me to come back, he had sent an email to my personal email that he created, told me that he was going to come back to the airport and grab me and take me back to Nigeria. But
so he knew you was on your way back.
He knew that because I don't know how the rumor found out. Whatever he found out,
bro. Like, this dude's lame as hell, bro.
Most definitely. So, but they had coordinated everything. I had like a whole police escort from Lagos, Nigeria, all the way to Atlanta, then Atlanta to Salt Lake at the time. And I went to Amsterdam too. But so when I got back to Salt Lake City, Utah, it was like the best feeling in the world because like here I was like strangers that I just met basically kind of became my family, I guess. You know what I mean? So like the Lester took me in, showed me like nothing but love at the time.
Love.
And so I remember like I missed like the first week of school because of jet lag basically. But like the best thing in the world for me was I went to a private school at the time. So like when I came in, like once I kind of like got used to jet lag, the whole student body just being outside in the middle of the school as soon as I pulled up, because my sister went to school earlier, then she came and picked me up and then took me back to school late. And when I got there, like the whole student body was outside just clapping, just applauding because I had just overcame one of the biggest things, you know what I'm saying, biggest things in my life basically.
It was a blessing you got back, like a miracle almost.
It felt pretty good, you know what I mean, just to get back and just kind of like get in the groove and start trying to be a kid again, you know what I mean, because like I had already missed like 2.5 months of my freshman year. And then I was like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Let me try to kind of refocus basically and trying to get my head on right because I make my mama proud and my grandpa proud, you know?
Sure.
So things didn't really stop there, you know? Like, so we came back in October. So went through that year, went through Christmas, you know, my new family basically like, okay, like things start kind of going better, you know, with the whoop. So May of the next year, you know, like I'm hooping, you know, my little brother, you know, we're hooping. And so get another phone call. You know what I mean? We're driving around, we got McDonald's food, whatever, and I get a phone call. And it's my dad, my adopted dad at the time. He called. He's like, yeah, like, you know, son, like, you know, like, what's up, man? What are you doing? I was like,
the Lesters?
Yes, it's a Lester. Okay. So I'm talking to my dad. I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? He's like, well, like, you know, where you at? And I'm like, oh, my brother, we just got done hooping. You know, about to probably go get some food. He said, well, son, I need you to be strong. So I'm like, hold on. I said, this
sounds too familiar.
Yeah, it's way too familiar, man. I said, it makes no sense right now. You feel me? So he's like, yeah, like mom just passed away about an hour ago.
So
not even 6 months later. Not even 6 months later.
I mean, how do you come back from that, bro? Like, how do you cope with the woman who just recently saved your life again, and now she's gone?
To be honest, I don't even know how like I was able to channel everything because when that happened,
Damn.
I could still, to this day, I still got the image in my head. I still got the picture where I was at, what I was wearing, things like that. And I remember just getting that phone call. I was like, dang, like, this can't be real. Like, why does this keep happening to me? You know, I'm not out here in the streets trying to kill nobody or do nothing stupid like that. Like, I'm trying to get my hair on right. Here I was in a whole different, like, fish tank trying to figure things out. But, yeah, I just lost my mother. You know what I'm saying? Because of some stupidity that my sperm donor did. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, I just lost the next person to me that stepped up to be, stepped up to the mother. Yeah, stepped up to be the mother she didn't have to be, basically. And so that hit kind of hard. And I remember walking in the hospital, like my body just went numb. Like it was just like,
I can't
he
feel.
was just like, I can't feel anything, you know? And I went up to the top floor. And I was like, man, like I kind of want to commit suicide. Like I want to jump out this, because it was like on the top floor of the IHC building, hospital, Memorial Hospital.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want to just jump out this thing, just like I'm done. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm done just taking all this hurt and pain and suffering. Like,
and how old are you? 14?
I was 14 at the time. I was 14.
Not your average 14-year-old story, right?
Yeah, most definitely. So went through that, man.
So talking about, because like suicide has been like huge in my life. Not that I ever like faced those situations personally, but I did have a teammate, rest in peace, Lil Will, who committed suicide when I was at Grandview, and that was something as a team captain of the squad I took heavy, and like I got a heart for that now, especially in this new social media world. I try to just vividly remind kids, like, don't let this app kill you, like, because it's killing. Like the track record is showing the suicide rate is going up. So at that age, if you can remember, if it's too hard to remember or too hard to even think about, don't. Having those thoughts, like what got you out of that? Like what you had to do to set yourself up?
Well, what set myself up was basically like just keeping myself active, you know what I mean? Like because being basketball was like the escape for me. You know what I mean? Like just being on that court, you forget about all the worries, you forget about anything going on at home, just anything. Like it was like
you're free.
Basically, free to do your own thing. So like, we just started playing basketball. We played from morning to dusk, basically. We'd get up in the morning, we were outside, drink from the water hose, things like that. You know what I mean? You play ball. Like you had a good time. You let your anger and frustrations out, you know what I mean? So like I grew to just channel my anger and keep myself occupied. Because if I had free time in my hands, then that's when them thoughts would linger in my head, like, okay, okay, you got 10 minutes, or you know what I mean? But I always stayed doing something, and being that I played like every single sport that was dealt to me, basically kind of kept me up, like.
You stayed busy, you was active.
Most definitely. Like I played soccer, baseball, ran track, did speech and debate, just anything basically, like, you know what I'm saying.
So when did you start playing football?
I didn't start playing football till.
We'll get in there later, don't we?
Yeah.
We'll
get back to football. We'll get back to football. But
football is important.
Yeah, so.
But no, so staying active kind of help free your mind, keep you off of those things or whatnot.
And then just praying. I ain't gonna lie, just like praying and just meditating, just understanding that my situation or where I was at wasn't going to be the end goal, basically. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, when things happen in life, they sit there and dwell on the situation way too long, and then it makes them mess up, basically. You know what I mean? So for me, like, I learned at that age to, like, basically dust things off. Not necessarily say dust them off, but, like, when you go through things, let it affect you emotionally for a little bit. But then there's a time where you got to just flip that switch and say, okay, it's over with. You know what I'm saying? It's time to progress and level up, basically. Because if you keep sitting there like...
it's time to progress. It's time to progress and level up, bro.
Most
you
definitely.
Hear this, man? No, for real.
Most definitely.
Appreciate that gym, dog. For real.
Yeah, so that's that kind of happened, and I just decided to just level up in my life. You know what I mean? Like, with no support.
In the midst of that leveling up, so now you got your mind right. You staying occupied. Let's say that you staying occupied, and you trying to deal with death of your foster mom, well, your adopted mom who brought you into her home. So now you got your mind right. What did life look like for DJ after that?
So after that, so when my mother passed away, and it was like the coldest day in my life, and it was crazy because when she passed away, it rained. So like I'll sit outside on like a graveside, just like looking like, man, like, and I just sat there just like talking, like, just like, man, just like order my steps, like show me where I should go, basically. Like I need guidance, basically, you know what I mean? Like here I was, it was the first person in my life that I had just opened up to, because as a 10-year-old jit, like my guard was up because I didn't trust people. Like
Yeah.
I came from people that I trusted, but I didn't know nobody.
Yeah.
So I finally opened up to this lady. Now here she was taken away from me. So like I kind of progressed and was just like, let me keep myself busy. So I kind of started going forward and started kind of like trying to get myself right, basically.
Yeah.
So that's when more problems started arising, basically, in our home because my dad's new wife came in the home and basically like demanded that I call her mom and things like that. It just was a whole crazy thing. Like all that stuff was in the book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, most
okay,
definitely.
all of that's in the
All that is
bet.
in the book. You know what I mean? So we talked about that, like you know what I'm saying, like
wait,
with the driver's
bro.
license, things like that. So but it was just like having like certain individuals in my corner, basically, like my high school coach, Coach Porter, basically like was always like kind of like looking out for me, like, you know what I mean, let's go play ball here, let's go to AAU 5-star basketball camp in Pennsylvania, like things like that, basically
So
keep
you
me
was on the
active,
move.
basically. So because if I would have stayed in the
was
same
running from the
spot,
house.
basically, it would have been like that. So I had so many problems in high school, even in elementary, where like the other thing was like the people would like put labels on me, basically. You know, like, oh, you stupid, you dumb, you don't understand this, you don't know this. But
And you black in Salt Lake. Let's think about that.
Most
like,
definitely.
Bro, you black in Salt Lake.
most definitely.
No disrespect to Salt Lake. It is what it is.
So that happened, and so like when all those years of being labeled, because like, you know, like even like in foster care, when I entered the system, to this day, I still got the image in my head when they do like a little entrance review of who you are, basically. Like they put like the things that you struggle with or whatever. I remember them marking mildly retarded, angry, stupid, like all those things, all that sheet of paper. I still have that sheet of paper to this day, and that's kind of like what kept me going forward, basically. Just having that sheet of paper saying that, oh,
And
you're
he's
mildly retarded.
supposed to be the people that's helping you. Think
In the
about
foster
that.
care, so they labeled me as all those things, and so like my thing was, I just told myself, like, looking at that sheet of paper, this ain't gonna be my reality. It's not, and that's kind of like what pushed me forward to kind of write this book, basically, because they said I couldn't write anything, I couldn't read, but it wasn't me. It was just a language barrier at the time, trying to flip the script to whole two different cultures. You know what I mean? Like bouncing back and forth. And so, so it kind of kept on pressing forward and kept busy with sports. So by the end of my junior year, I had already like endured so much in my life, and all I wanted in life was just somebody just to be there. You know, like somebody just like that sense of family, that sense of belonging to a community. Like, you know what I mean? So I started kind of attaching myself to people that weren't good enough for me, basically, because I accepted less. But I thought people's presence in my life was okay because I didn't have one from my sperm donor. You know what I mean? So that pressed on. So by my junior year, I ended up moving in with my school administrators. Cause
so you left the Lesters because the house got too
chaotic.
It wasn't for you. Got you.
It was too much commotion at the house with his new wife and things like that. So I ended up moving out. Things started getting better by my junior year. And then my senior year, I still my school administrator still, and I basically like changed my whole perspective. Basically, here I was as a freshman, going through all this stuff, but my grades were bad, but people couldn't understand why. Because every day I'll show up to school, I'd be angry, pissed off, I'd get fights in the lot, I'd curse people out. But here I was, like, teachers wouldn't even teach me anything. Teachers in elementary would isolate me to the corner of classrooms and then call me stupid and dumb when I'm trying to ask questions about something. So here are all these things in my head, like, oh, I'm stupid, I'm dumb. Like, I started believing these lies.
It becomes your reality.
Yeah, I started believing these things, thinking I'm dumb. Like, I can't learn anything. I'm really mildly retarded. I had to be in special ed classes and things like that. And so when that happened, I ended up changing my grades from my freshman year, which was like I kid you not, it was like a 1.2 GPA. To my junior year, I finished with I graduated with like a 3.2 cumulative GPA. So think about it, in 4 years after going through, after all that, basically just changed everything within that year.
Jeez, that's crazy. And that should have showed you the strength that you had already,
Most definitely.
but that you tapping into now, and when you was writing the book and stuff
Most
like
definitely.
that. Just that transition, because your boy had a 1 point something his freshman year of college, man. I got out here in that snow. You know, Texas boy can't take that snow.
Yeah, for
but
real.
nah, bro, that just shows your strength. That right there in a nutshell, to start off as labeled mild retarded.
Yeah, most definitely.
And to the 3.2 GPA, like in high school, that's a blessing in disguise. That's all you know, and you change your reality.
Yeah, most
important,
definitely.
you change your atmosphere, bro. Talk about your time, like when you was in the midst of like living with your administrator, the school administrator. How was life like that? Was it fulfilling? Like, was it good, or was it kind of?
I mean, think about it. So I'm at this time, I'm about 15, 16. I'd already been through so much in my life that, you know, like I just became like numb and immune to a lot of things, basically. You know, like my guard was back up. It was hard for me to like open up to people, and people didn't really understand how to talk to me or why, like you said, like, you know what I mean, why I'm dealing with these things or why am I acting the way I am. But in reality, like, I just needed somebody to just come say it's going to be okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know you lost your mom. Like, you know, I know you lost your adopted mom. I know you lost all these things and going through these things, but things are going to be okay. But I dealt with that. So when I moved in with my administrators, it was basically like a change for me because it kind of was like a sign of relief. I didn't have to deal with the stress a lot with the chaos going on in the home. Like, it helped me focus more on the school and the sports aspect. Like, they took me in as a JIT where they didn't have to. You know what I mean? So they took me in, and it kind of helped me kind of like change my mind to say, you know, this is what I want, because they had other kids who were the same age as me, and so like they had their goals and dreams and things like that. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, maybe this is what I need to do. You know what I mean? So, but at the time, like, I still was yearning for my family in Nigeria. You know, like I had lost my mother, but I still was looking out for my grandpa because that was the next closest person to me. You know what I mean? So my mind just kind of changed in my junior year, my senior year, basically just kind of put everything together. You know what I mean? And we kind of like had a group that we grew up together, and we just kind of finished the process. So we ended up winning the state championship my senior year in high school. Basketball? Dope. Most definitely. We kind of set the tone for my private school because our group of kids, we were the first group to win state championship with our school. Now the school has about like 5 championships.
Way to break that mold.
Yeah,
no, for real.
We set that tone, you know what I mean? So, because all the things we've been through, you know, so, and then when I graduated high school, it was basically like I was basically back on my own, basically. Like I understand, like I had my school administrators, they were my family, you know, they were my family at the time. So when I left, basically, like they had their things they were working on, but like I was basically faced to go in the world by myself as an 18-year-old JIT, basically, again. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can come back home, but it's like you're on your own. Figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So all I had was the money from senior night. And luckily, like, I played all the sports, but I wanted to go to college for basketball. But football just kind of worked out, you know, like I got to.
Were you playing football the whole time? Like without,
So, yeah, each year, like every year in my high school career, I always had a different head coach, basically. So I didn't know the process. I didn't really know much about football. It was just
how could you know? You spent the first eight important years of your life in Nigeria.
Like, soccer was a sport basically out there, you know what I mean? So
how could you know?
Most
like
definitely.
You had no way of knowing. And then you was going through other bullshit when you was here. So how could you know?
Most definitely. You know what I mean? So went through that, dealt with that, and he just kept on being persistent. And I went to JUCO at the time in Utah called Snow College. Like that was probably like the best time in my life. It was basically the same thing. Yeah, it was the best thing, like basically like being in Nigeria, basically, because it was like we didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot of money. All I had the money from senior night, from graduation night, and I went to college and I had to make it work. You know what I mean? And so I was on a school scholarship, went up there. I signed with Weber State out of high school, but then like things didn't work out up there.
For
playing football.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got a scholarship to go up there. So I ended up going back to JUCO for 2 years. And at the time when I was back out there, things started getting kind of harder because it reminded me of just being in this world alone, because I saw people going home for like Christmas break, Thanksgiving, these special holidays. Oh, mom, like, you know, I'm going to be home for Thanksgiving. So here I was like, dang, like, I wish I can call my mama. Like, you know what I mean? I wish I can go home for Thanksgiving. Wish I could do these things like that. So it was like a whole nother dilemma just kind of dealing with that and just being there. So I ended up starting like tagging along with a couple buddies, you know, football team like we always do athlete-wise. You know, you tag along, go to people's homes and they'll welcome me. Yeah, most definitely. You know what I mean?
Oh,
that's me.
I'm about to say, I thought that was me.
So that was kind of good to kind of do that. So like that's kind of the thing that kind of helped me kind of grow a little bit, was being able to kind of travel and experience different cultures, different people, different environments, different surroundings, different territories.
Eye-opening.
Most definitely. And so I went about that, and then balled out for 2 years. I played DB my freshman year in in college, and then we switched over to play receiver, you know, after my second year, and that's how Wyoming happened, you know what I mean? So did exception enough to go to Wyoming, but when I went to Wyoming, that's when like I felt like things just kind of like were out of my reach, because before I went to Wyoming, most people don't even know about this, which is in the book. I was in a car accident, you know what I mean? So it was
in Wyoming?
No, it was in Utah at the time. This before I left Utah.
Okay.
And so it was like in this little Spanish Fork Canyon. And we got in this little car accident. It was pretty bad, you know what I mean, that I was gone. Like, and all I could remember was everything just going pitch black. Like, it was darkness. And so I remember it was like light creeping through the darkness, and my body just felt like it was getting pulled up, like, you know what I mean? So my body just felt heavy. It was like getting levitated, basically. And I remember just like being like, what? And then all of a sudden, like, I just hear my ear just saying, not yet, not yet. And I remember, I kid you not, that was my mother just whispering to me, saying that my purpose in earth was bigger than what it was at the time. So that I had something left in me to fulfill, basically. And so I kind of came back, and I remember just like opening my eyes like this. I was sitting in the backseat of the vehicle, but my head felt like there was like so much pressure inside of it. It felt like a coil just shaking. And but the other perspective was when we was in the road, there was like a Ford Focus in front of my little vehicle. I was driving a 2-door Ford Escort at the time. And was going, so the road was going like this, whatever, you know, so it was a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
The Focus was in front of me, and there's 2 vehicles like this. So this vehicle was a Focus. They hit the oncoming vehicle up ahead like this. So the truck tried to avoid the accident, and they came straight on and hit my vehicle dead on.
You was by yourself?
I was with my little brother, the one I went to college with. I was playing basketball. We was in shotgun, and my boy from Louisiana was in the back seat, and I caught the brunt of it. But my head smacked the steering wheel. Everybody deployed, and I got a scar right here. From the windshield. If I would have turned like this, my eye would have been gone. But so like I said, just to get away from that car accident, but like I was gone literally, like my brother said, for like about 10, 15, 20 minutes, like he was like shaking me in the vehicle, like, D, wake up. D, wake up. But I was just gone, like not breathing, not doing anything at all. He thought he had lost me. I mean, he started tearing up. He was just like, man, this is crazy. You know what I mean? So there was a whole different dynamic.
I didn't need, like, is that in the book? Okay.
It's all in the book. You know what I'm saying? So, so went through that. And so, like, to kind of, like, go through that before I went to Wyoming just kind of, like, took its toll on me, because I was like, dang, like, why is it that all these things in life keep happening to me? You know what I mean? I'm not here, like, trying to steal something from somebody. I'm out here trying to do good, like, leave good. But it seemed like all these little things just keep recurring in my life, all these failures, all these setbacks, all these defeats and things like that. But I could have, at that moment, I could have just said, F it. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm done trying. Like, you know what I mean? I could just change who I was and go back down the deep end, you know, just like, you know what I mean, the little shootings and stuff like that in Colorado. It could have been something like that, you know what I mean, easy. But I was just like, you know what, no, I'm going to keep being persistent. And so dealt with that, went to Wyoming, played ball up there for 2 years. And I was trying to, like, find something just to keep me motivated, but it seemed like I had people, but I didn't have people at the time, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I wish I had more support up there, basically, because I needed more somebody else. Like, I needed somebody out there to understand what I was going through, but nobody could understand or relate to what I was going through.
Because you just got implemented into that system.
Most definitely. They
didn't know nothing.
So I left Wyoming, got my college degree. I walked that stage with, you know, my head held high, because, like, I was like, dang, I walked the stage, but I wanted my sperm donor to be around. He wasn't there. I wanted people around. Like, nobody walked the stage, you know. Like, I mean, watch me watch the stage. So I was like, whatever. So you had
to walk the stage by yourself?
By myself.
That's another hard hit for life.
Most definitely. So went through that, but for me, like, I was like, well, like, I don't need nobody. All my life, like, I've been kind of navigating through the world. Here I was, I already made it to a D1 school by myself. I mean, I had some people kind of help along the way and tag along. But
that's a victory in itself, that you made division. After all that, you still was able to play Division I football. Like,
most
that's
definitely
crazy, bro. Like, to think about, like, I trained basketball my whole life, and the highest level, and not trying to compare, I reached NAI, and I'm proud of what I accomplished at my NAI school. Everything you went through and still making a Division I, bro, that's an accomplishment in itself. But and it's crazy, because I'm not gonna lie, I thought you played 1 year at Iowa State. I did.
No, that was Darius. You probably think about Darius.
I got it mixed up. I thought you played 1 year at Iowa State, but so I know we wanted to kind of hit on, like, just business and community, and I think we're going to have to say that for another season, because, like, what I want to talk to you now is about just, like, embracing failure. Like, that's kind of been, like, the mode for the season. So, like, you faced a lot of things to where you fell short, mentally, physically, spiritually. So what is the thought process, never giving up, like your previous advice, the best advice I ever told you? What is the thought process behind, like, when you fail now with everything you dealt with as in your past? So let's say you set a goal out now, like in the recent days, What is your thought process when you fall short?
It's basically like when you fall short. For me, like when I fall short, is like I learned to face my problems, basically not run away. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, I feel like people are so afraid of failure that it makes them fail. Because like when people fail, it's like, oh my God, like, oh, I'm not never gonna do that again, or I'm not gonna try again, or I'm not, just like whether it be relationships, it be business, it be anything. Like when people have something hits, you know what I mean, or like they don't get the loan for the new house or a loan for the new car, something like that, they get pissed off and just say it is what it is, but not realizing that there's so many more opportunities in this world. Like there's so many things you can keep doing to trying to make it to where you need to get to. You know what I mean? So for me, I learned to kind of like face those problems. Like no matter what failure I had, I could have ran down the rabbit hole and just said, no, I'm not finna face this. I'm finna just run away. But every failure I had in life, I faced it head on. Yeah. I stuck my chest out from 10 years old. I said, nah, like you not finna keep me buried down. No, like just like with seeds or anything, any plant you plant, like you have to bury something first and water it and do all this stuff like before they blossom into a tree, right?
Good or bad.
Good or bad. That's what I had to do. I had to face my problems. I said, no, like this wasn't going to be my end destination, and this wasn't going to dictate how my life was going to play. I had the power to do that. And by me doing that was changing my mindset, saying, no, like I'm going to face these problems and then figure out a solution afterwards to how to get about the situation, whether I have to crawl under the fence, I had to crawl over, I had to go left, I had to go right, whatever it may be. But people just always have this idea that, okay, well, I want to be a millionaire. Okay, so tomorrow I wake up, I'm going to be millionaire. But it's like, no, you have to go through the process. You feel me? Like it's the process you have to fall in love with.
Process is the best.
You know what I mean? That's all it is. So you have to enjoy that process, and you have to continue to keep beating day in and day out on your craft daily to try to get the craft to be something great. You can't just say that.
Who are some people you learning from right now, bro? Because your mindset is a lot different. So can you give us just a few? You ain't got to give it. No, I'm just playing. Just who are some people you learning from, as far as like business and mindset wise right now that you can help us out?
Well, my grandpa played an intricate part in kind of like business, because he just the knowledge that he had in his mind, and my mother was the next person, like the knowledge they both had, and they kind of like instilled in me as a young jit, kind of helped me be successful now, because they always told me, don't forget who you are, where you come from, and what you stand for.
Never.
You feel me? You can't ever forget those roots, because people always like get outside their box or their element, and then they fail, and then sometimes they have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what got them there. You know what I'm saying? So those two people played an intricate part of my life, and obviously I started reading a couple of things or whatever here and there. You know what I mean? Like I started reading Barack Obama's book.
Is this book good?
It's decent for the most part right now. What I'm into, I haven't really got into meat of it yet, but I just kind of just started. There's a couple other books, like 50 Cent's book that he just wrote. I started reading that a little bit, but it's just a couple people's things that I started reading. I was like, man, like some of this mindset I've already had and learned as a 10-year-old jit because of what my mom and them kind of did. You know what I mean? So I think growing up for me, basically with less than what a lot of people had, made me appreciate the value of having things that I have now, basically. So like all those lessons kind of like correlated with me, and like made me like not want to be greedy, I guess you could say, or like be like entitled to things, because nowadays it's like people are so entitled to things, like even like kids nowadays.
Instant gratification too.
Most definitely.
On top of that too.
Like kids nowadays, you take their tablet away, they throw a whole little fit, like, oh mama, oh my God, you did. But I'm like, it's a tablet.
Relax, like, you can live without
most definitely. You know what I'm saying? But when we grew up, it was like we didn't have a tablet. I talk to you face to face, like, what's up, bro? Let's go play in the streets. Let's go have fun. Let's go do something.
Drink out the water hose. Most definitely. Ain't nobody drinking out no water hose no more, bro.
Most definitely.
At all. You said something very interesting when we started talking about, when I asked you the first question about failure. I want to ask you this, then I want to see what you obviously think about it. What do you think that people get in their own way before they fail, which causes them more failure?
Most definitely. I think people get in the way of comparing their lives to everybody else's life, or where they're start and finish to somebody else's life.
But it's hard too because of the social media.
Most definitely.
Too.
Most definitely.
So like that's a different ball game as well. So how do you think? Love this topic. How do you think the social media era affect like people who got brilliant ideas, but they're scared to put themselves out there?
It's self-explanatory. It's like, just like for instance, like, okay, you have all these models or all these people that want to be models and celebrities, but just because they see a picture of Jennifer Lopez or Beyonce or something like that, they like compare their lives to that. Like, oh well, my hips ain't like Beyonce's, or I can't sing like Beyonce,
I'm not good enough.
or you know what I'm saying, I can't play the keyboard or the piano like Alicia Keys, or you know what I mean. Like they compare their lives to somebody else. In reality, saying like, no, like my time is my time. My skills are my skills. You know what I'm saying? Just like for me, like when I got labeled growing up, it was like, oh, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're retarded, you can't ever write a book, you can't do these things. But look what happened.
Accomplishing goals.
They said I was stupid, I was mildly retarded, but a mildly retarded person can write a book and publish it on Amazon. So like I didn't compare my life to everybody else. I said, no, like my journey and my race is gonna happen when it's supposed to on my time. You feel me? So like I said, social media has played a part where like it has people comparing their lives and their success and their timeline basically to get into success to somebody else. Because like you look at it, you pop up social media right now, you might see somebody be like, oh, I'm in Cancun, or I'm in Mexico.
Probably went down
credit.
Like,
it's something like that,
Probably went down credit. And if they do got it, they work for it. So they minded their own business to get there. If they didn't go down credit. But like I think social media too, this is the worst part about social media for me is you would see somebody post a picture in a Benz and get discouraged, but that person probably paying $900 a month for that Benz and it's killing them. It's killing them. They can't do nothing extra because they driving that because they want it to look good on Instagram,
on the streets.
But like our minds, Instagram, social media, not Instagram. Completely. Social media loses our minds, bro. Like it just loses, and it causes that negative effect for people to not go out and be creators, for people to not be strong-minded, for people to not think for themselves. Like I gotta think like Lester think because he doing it the right way when he probably doing it the complete wrong way. It don't allow us to be like individuals.
I'm gonna share a story with you. So when I was playing for the Utah Blaze. So this when I got done with Wyoming, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. And so like nobody had taught me the game of football. I just started kind of pick up bits and pieces, but like I had too much pain outside of football and things that I had to deal with basically. You know, not having a consistent home or a place to go to call home and being on the road. Like I was everywhere I went, everywhere I went, I had to make home basically. I couldn't just say, oh, I'm going home back to Cali or I'm going back home to Des Moines or things like that. Like everywhere I had to go, I had to make home. I had to find shelter. I had to find food. Basically all that stuff like that. So when I went back to Salt Lake, we was headed to Philadelphia, and we was at a food court in the airport. And a guy came up to me, just like looked at me. He's like, man, it's like, can I do an interview with you? And I was like, what you mean? Like I said, I don't even know you. He's just like, yeah, my name's Jared. I'd love to do an interview with you. And I was like, okay. It's like, about what? He's like, well, I want to do an interview about self-doubt. And so I'm like, out of all people, all of my teammates, you chose me to do an interview about self-doubt. He was like, yeah, you just looked like somebody's been through a lot and I want to do the interview. So in my head, I'm like, I don't know you but a can of paint. But yeah, you already talking about I've been through a lot. I mean, obviously I've been through a lot, but how do you how do you know that? Like, you know what I mean? So we did an interview about self-doubt, and so that's kind of like what I learned about self-doubt, like more, because I was like, dang, like at the time, like it made me feel like going back to the young years, because I started doubting myself. Because I was like, no matter what I did, like it wasn't good enough to me in my eyes. Like I felt like it wasn't. So that kind of correlated to what we were just talking about. Is like when we did that interview, it's like people self-doubt everything they do. You know what I mean? Like just because they see somebody else has done it or hasn't done it, basically, it's like they're like, no, I'm not gonna be able to do it or whatever it be. Just like we always talk about, like Robert. All the people like breaking the 4 minute mile marker for running the mile and things like that. People said it couldn't be done, but then it got done by Roger Bannister or whatever, things like that. It's like when somebody does it, then it's like, oh, okay, it's possible. But like, you know what I mean?
People don't mind their own business.
They don't.
Like they don't mind their own business, and I think like that's crazy. Like that he was able to see that through you, because I wonder like. Because I wasn't able to, that's why I'm kind of jealous. I wasn't able to see that in you. I'm like, I'm wondering where, like when I met you, were you in a better place in your life? Were you more happy? Were you more peaceful? And then when he met you, obviously he was a teammate, right? Were you wearing that? Like, were you
no, he was just a regular guy. He wasn't my teammate. He was a guy that was just a food court. I had never met him before.
Okay. And he just saw him.
Yeah, but he was like a podcaster at the time. He was running the podcast. So he just saw me. He's like, yeah, I want to do an interview with you about self-doubt. And that was the kind of the person kind of like, Jared helped me kind of like get the idea by kind of like pushing my book out, basically. Like, I was just like, okay, like maybe he is right. I need to get my book done, basically. That's kind of what gave me the little driving edge to like get my book done, basically.
No, for sure. We definitely gonna have to part two this one, brother. Definitely, because we got a lot. You got a lot more to give. And I like our connection when I'm up here together. Selfishly said. But I want you to leave us with one thing, bro. If you can leave us with one thing, give us one gem. What you'll get a word, bro. Like, if you can help somebody right now, what would you tell them?
I just tell them, man, just be a good person overall, man. There's a lot of people in this world suffering, but just if you just tell somebody have a good day, good morning, something like that, a message is gonna just change somebody's day. You know what I mean? And right now, what I'm working on different things. I'm going back to like Nigeria. I've been sending money to kind of buy people clothes, socks, just basic necessities, whatnot. And I'm working on a project trying to go back and start like building a couple wells and things like that, so people can have like clean water. But I'll say like any help, any support would be helpful, whatnot. Like to me, it's not about the money or anything like that. It's about helping and changing people's lives and making things kind of easier on other people. You know what I mean? So, but basically, I started to say, just love to be good people, help people out as much as you can, and stay true to yourself always. You know what I mean?
Man,
stay
dope.
true to yourself always.
See, so dope. So, you mentioned like trying to help people in Nigeria, like, and we gonna hit some community stuff too. I think that's why we got a part to it. But for people to help you, where can we find? Tell us about the website, and then run us about the book. Where can we find the book?
Obviously, I have my own personal website. It's www.dejlester.com. So just like it's spelled DEJAYLESTER.com. I got my website, but we're working on kind of renovating it a little bit. But there's that. I got a Facebook page for my Fostering Dreams page. So I have an online Fostering Dreams store. So this past Christmas, we sent out about 30 backpacks that had like coloring books, markers, T-shirts, and things like that, just to kind of kids around in Atlanta for foster care and whatnot. So that's the kind of things we're working on. So if we go on Facebook, even if you just look at my name, just add me. You can just ask like any way you guys can contribute and help out as much as possible. So yeah,
we need y'all.
Yeah, most definitely. Just out here just trying to make an impact and make a difference. Because I feel like everybody in this world deserves an opportunity to get clean drinking water, basically, or like some supplies and necessities that they need, because we take things up here for granted. Like we waste food, waste clothes, like things that like don't fit us, we just throw it away. But in reality, like there's people that are less fortunate than us that grew up that need it. You know what I mean? That's what we have to realize that.
That's a fact. Instagram, you
Instagram,
just your personal account?
Well, my personal account on Instagram is D_Lester, LESTR1, or I have an author Dejay Lester page, so just author Dejay Lester spelled out. And then the Fostering Dreams store is just called Fostering Dreams Store on Instagram.
Bet.
So
cool. We'll have most of that in the link below. As far as like links and Instagram and way to get in contact with your brother. We can't thank you enough for finishing season 2 with us, bro. Appreciate you. A blessing. We're gonna do a lot of work together in the community soon. Definitely. So you want to get in touch with him, you got me. You got my line. I can push that right over. So can't wait to connect with you and just work and help change this world to be a better place. Because like you was one of the few people who hit me up when we started our journey at Impact, and you like, yo, I like that. Let's talk. Like, and it was authentic. So can't wait till y'all see that. But blessings. Thanks for coming up here and tell your story. You can get Fostering Dreams on Amazon. Hit him up for a copy. He got copies on him.
Barnes and Nobles, anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
So, so go get that. Like if you want to hear that full story, he kind of gave y'all a full rundown, but it ain't nothing like getting the details from the book. So go get that. But yeah, that wraps up another episode of the Minds of Hakeem podcast. DJ, we appreciate you, dog. Salute you.
Appreciate you, man.
Y'all be breezy. Till next time.
Thanks
Peace.
for having me, man. Be easy, y'all.
For sure.